For this pew, there have been three different proposed readings so far. Benaiah Israel proposed that it's Hebrew in the Solitreo script, or what's known as the Sephardi cursive script, but he bizarrely proposed that that Hebrew is running backwards from left to right. He proposed a barely coherent string of characters which he claimed roughly approximated something along the lines of "take grasp of Yah" with a bass voice. Amazingly, his documentary Reclaiming the Throne has a claim that his interpretation was confirmed by scholars. Which scholars? Doesn't say. Whatever the case, I highlighted a specific portion in yellow because that part has been interpreted in a few different ways by different individuals. Note that here, the portion marked in yellow was interpreted by Benaiah as being two chets in the Solitreo script. To show other interpretations of those same markings, let's rotate this pew 180 degrees. From this vantage point, the scholar David Bunis from Hebrew University of Jerusalem tentatively proposed that it might read Yisrael or Israel. And it reads that way he proposed in the standard Ashuri script, which is to say the block script or the square script, what's now the standard Hebrew script. He later clarified that he based his hesitant proposal on the markings resembling two characters, the Shin and Lamed, with the rest being unclear, at which point his lighthearted suggestion merely filled in the gaps. However, he also clarified that he couldn't even see those two characters without Benaiah's highlights, as Will Brown sent Bunis this image with highlights from Benaiah Israel. It was within that highlighting that Bunis saw a resemblance to two characters. Nonetheless, it's worth noting that the precise markings that Benaiah interpreted as two Solitreo chets was interpreted by Bunis as a single Ashuri shin. And aside from that, the scholar Ephraim Isaac from Princeton University discussed this same pew from this same vantage point in the 2018 documentary Cryptic Quest. Isaac looked at the same markings and saw two Ge'ez characters, Ha and Shah, in precisely the place where Benaiah saw two Solitreo chets and Bunis saw a resemblance to an Ashuri shin. So three different people came up with three different interpretations of the same portion, proposing different characters, even different numbers of characters, in three different scripts. Benaiah, for his part, treated his interpretation as obvious, and went so far as to insinuate that those who disagree might be engaging in gaslighting.
Right. And for me, I mean, there were some letters that were just obvious. Like, I'm not to throw shade, but that you don't have a doctor's degree to know that letter that goes like that is right there. You know what I mean? It's like simple stuff, right? And then they come on, oh, that's not that letter. Oh no, that's not the, in stuff like that. I do the SMH for that, but we put it out there so people can look at the letters, compare to look at the pews and see if they can see the letters. And for a lot of that stuff, it is very obvious, right?
This pew has been the most discussed of all the pews and has 4 or 5 different proposed readings for it. Kelly Richardson proposed that it's Hebrew in the Solitreo script, and he proposed that it reads Yisrael Yom, or Israel Day. However, he proposed that Israel, or Yisrael, was spelled in a completely unique and ahistorical way, with 5 yods and a zayin, but no sin or aleph. And Yom, he proposed, was written with a regular mem rather than a final mem, which is to say a mem sofit. Kelly also shared an email from a man he called Shaul, whom he claimed was a scholar at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. While Kelly never gave this mysterious Shaul's last name, his description of the man seems to imply that he was referring to Shaul Shaket. Amazingly, the email from this mysterious Shaul declared emphatically that the markings were not Hebrew, but it also shared the tentative suggestion that there's a remote possibility that it could be English in the now standard Hebrew cursive script, what's called by some the Ashkenazi cursive, and it proposed that the string of characters could be Lamed Resh Yod Yod Tet. Aside from that, the Orthodox Moor sent this pew to the scholar Brian Kirshen, who's at Binghamton University. Kirshen said he felt the markings overall vaguely resembled Arabic, but if he were to try to wrench a Solitreo reading from it, he would suggest as a possibility Aleph Resh Yod Yod Lamed, which he said would be the name Ariel, more specifically a non-standard spelling of Ariel, with only 2 yods in the center rather than Yod Aleph as per the standard spelling. And aside from those readings, there are the scholars who proposed an Arabic reading for this pew. 3 different scholars proposed an Arabic reading for this pew, and in fact they proposed the same Arabic reading for this pew. Jafri Khan, the Hebrew chair at Cambridge, along with Samar Ali from the University of Michigan and Mahan Mirza from Notre Dame, all proposed, independently of each other, that the Quranic Arabic phrase Ilahi Nas might appear here, this being a verse from the last chapter of the Quran. Jafri Khan was emphatic that the markings are Arabic and not Hebrew. Samar Ali and Mahan Mirza were more tentative in their suggested proposals, but nonetheless all three proposed Ilahi Nas for this particular pew. Beyond that, Jafri Khan and Samar Ali gave a more expansive reading, proposing that the markings on the right read in Arabic An-Nas, so altogether An-Nas Ilahi Nas, which would mean humanity, the God of humanity. Of all these readings for this pew, the Arabic proposals, whether it be the shorter proposal or the more expansive proposal, the Arabic proposals are the only ones to have historical precedent, not only in Arabic literature in general, but more specifically in Arabic written by slaves in the United States. This pew has had one proposal for it. The Harvard linguist Boubacar Diakité had proposed that the Arabic phrase La ilaha illallah appeared on a pew. Aside from him, a former tour guide at First African Baptist Church, Emil Jamal Touré, proposed the same reading. It seems that they both had in mind this pew, which does look like it has La ilaha illallah sloppily written on it. But this pew is also thought-provoking because it invites a more expansive view of the pews, in which one tries to interpret multiple pews simultaneously in light of their proximity to each other. To explain what I mean, we're going to pull back from this pew and look at it together with the pew next to it. Now, as you look at these two pews together, note that Boubacar Diakité had not only proposed La ilaha illallah for a pew, he also proposed that Muhammad Rasulullah appeared on the pews. As was just noted, a resemblance to La ilaha illallah appears right here on the lower part of the pew on the left. But where might we find the phrase Muhammad Rasulullah? While I have not found a pew with the word Muhammad, there is a curious resemblance to something approximating the words Rasul and Allah across these two pews. Look at these markings at the top of these two pews. The top of the pew on the left looks like it has Ra and Sin, the first two letters of the Arabic word Rasul, almost as if someone wrote La ilaha illallah on this pew and then tried to write Rasul but ran out of space. And the pew on the right has at its top a coincidental resemblance to the word Allah. If that's merely a coincidence, it's an incredible coincidence. But to make this a bit more clear, let's swing back to our close-up of that pew on the left. As was already noted, most of it resembles a sloppily written Arabic phrase, La ilaha illallah, which means there is no God but God. Now let's add the top of the adjacent pew underneath the unhighlighted portion of this pew. In this juxtaposition on the right, the top portion looks like Ra, Sin, the first two words of Rasul, and the bottom portion looks like the word Allah. It really does look like someone sloppily wrote La ilaha illallah on this pew and then tried to write Rasulullah across multiple pews, but might have run out of space when writing Rasul. As I said, this is an incredible coincidence. And perhaps it's worth noting that these phrases too, La ilaha illallah and Rasulullah, are also found in extant examples of Arabic written by slaves in the United States.